Members of the Rules Committee, I'm grateful to be here in front of you today. As we celebrate National Police Week, it is fitting that we're here today to consider 3 bills that will actually help the men and women who serve in our communities every day. All 3 of these bills should be non-controversial and receive bipartisan support. The first is H.R. 2494, the Police Act of 2023, which makes aliens removable if they assault a law enforcement officer. 43,649. That staggering number is the number of law enforcement officers who were assaulted while performing their duties in 2021. That was an 11.2% increase from 2020. In both 2021 and 2022, at least 64 law enforcement officers were shot and killed in the line of duty. That's 21% more than the average number of officers killed by gunfire from 2010 to 2020. To make matters worse, many of those incidents involve criminal aliens who take advantage of our immigration system and then turn around and assault the very people who protect us every day. In a single 2-month operation in 2020, ICE arrested 1,500 aliens who were removable because of assaults. In 2019, ICE arrested aliens who accounted for 45,804 assault convictions and charges. The reports speak for themselves. And just 2 months ago, an illegal alien violently assaulted a U.S. Border Patrol agent as she attempted to arrest him. In November 2022, 2 aliens were arrested for pushing, dragging, and punching a Border Patrol agent in another incident. And those acts of violence are not limited to the Border Patrol. Just last fall, a criminal alien was sentenced to 30 years in prison for stabbing an NYPD officer, taking his gun, and shooting at other officers. In 2020, a criminal alien shot and killed a Houston police sergeant as he responded to a domestic violence call. Despite these acts, the immigration statute does not explicitly make assaulting a law enforcement officer a deportable offense. H.R. 2494 changes that by creating a ground of removability specific to aliens who assault a law enforcement officer. Although many such offenders can be removed based on other grounds, such as an aggravated felony or a crime involving moral turpitude, H.R. 2494 ensures that these criminal aliens cannot escape the immigration consequences of their actions through legal loopholes. Determining whether an alien is removable from the country is not as straightforward as it should be. The processes have a bit of a problem. In a case just last year, to illustrate the Byzantine nature that can erupt in the immigration process, a federal judge observed that the process to determine whether an alien had been convicted of a crime that would make him removable presented, quote, a single legal question about a single conviction, close the quote. The analysis of this, a single legal question, and this is the judge again, spawned over 11 years and counting 4 decisions by the Board of Immigration Appeals, 4 decisions by 3 different immigration judges, approximately 6 rounds of briefings, and a split opinion by a federal court. And what was the question? Whether a California conviction for rape of an unconscious victim was a deportable offense. This bill goes a long way to avoid the absurd results of that approach. And it makes crystal clear that an alien who assaults a law enforcement officer can be removed from the United States. My colleagues across the aisle have argued that this bill would encompass too much conduct due to state definitions of assault. That could not be further from the truth. Listen to what the bill requires. 1, an admission or a conviction of 2, of an assault offense. 3, the assault must have been against a law enforcement officer. And 4, that assault must have been while the law enforcement officer was performing his or her duties, because of the performance of those duties, or because of his or her status as a law enforcement officer. The Democrats' far-fetched hypotheticals make light of assault against law enforcement officers and do not align with reality. Make no mistake, criminal aliens who assault the dedicated men and women of law enforcement should find no safe harbor in our immigration laws. H.R. 2494 gives adjudicators another tool to ensure that these criminal aliens can be quickly removed from the country. In doing so, we make America safer not only for our citizens, but also for the hardworking men and women of our law enforcement who serve our communities every day. H.R. 3091, the Federal Law Enforcement Officer Service Weapons Purchase Act, requires the GSA to establish a program that allows a federal law enforcement officer to purchase a retired handgun from the federal agency that issued the gun. Currently, agencies are required to destroy unneeded firearms. This regulation accounts for millions of dollars wasted in federal funding. This bill is not just a pro-law enforcement, it is pro-taxpayer as well. An American taxpayer should not be forced to pay twice for the same firearm, first when it's originally purchased and second when it is needlessly destroyed. This bill allows some of that cost to be recovered by allowing law enforcement officers to purchase retired service weapons at fair market value. And finally, we're considering H-Con Res 40, which expresses support for local law enforcement officers and condemns efforts to defund or dismantle local law enforcement agencies. I think we all agree with those sentiments. It's important that we not just recognize and appreciate local law enforcement officers, but condemn calls to defund, disband, dismantle, or abolish our local police departments, our local police departments. If anything, the past 3 years have taught us that. Not surprisingly, jurisdictions that defended their law enforcement saw dramatic increases in crime. Villainizing our local law enforcement officers raises the national temperature and further complicates officers' dangerous jobs. It is time that this body condemns that foolish idea, the one that says defunding our police is a good thing for the communities we serve. And I want to just address briefly, if I may, the contention that because this bill and what we're doing today focuses on local law enforcement, that somehow, and because there's been critiques given of federal law enforcement, our federal police apparatus, that somehow we are reaching a new position. The Durham report just came out today. The conclusions of the Durham report were scathing. What did he find? He said, our investigation revealed that senior FBI personnel displayed serious lack of analytical rigor towards the information that they received, especially information received from politically affiliated persons and entities. Further, he wrote, at the direction of Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, Deputy Assistant Director of Counterintelligence Peter Strzok, they opened Crossfire Hurricane immediately. He also said the FBI and the Department of Justice acted without appropriate objectivity or restraint. There is a reason that people are scrutinizing our federal police apparatus. And I think that we should take that into consideration as well. I'll address one other issue. This idea with regard to the pardons. Through the history of America, our Constitution has been respected when presidents have offered pardons or clemency to individuals. That has been, I don't know of a case. We've scoured. We can't find a single case where a secondary or a succeeding administration has attempted to set aside clemency or pardon. That's not what's happening with this DOJ. So I think any allusion to the fact that we support pardoning of people, I always thought that was a bipartisan, constitutionally accepted notion until this administration, which is attempting to set aside clemency and pardons and having a list of people that they wish to do that to. There's a reason that some of us look with a great deal of scrutiny about what our federal police apparatus is doing. I encourage everyone to vote for these three bills. I think they represent where the American people are, and they certainly represent where I am, and I'll yield back. Thank you.
Ranking member.